Hi there, you're watching Grumpy Opinions. Outlander is a historical show set just before the American War of Independence, set in Fraser's Ridge, North Carolina, where the family are living out their lives with a lot of weird stuff going on. Episode 7, Sticks and Stones, kicks off with a wee flashback sequence of Malva confessing all her sins to the neighbours of Fraser's Ridge, shortly before picking up where we left off last week, with everybody clustering around in shock over her dead body and the dead babby, and obviously everyone's pretty messed up, and accusations are flying and tensions are high, and Tom, who's really upset, is all about burying her in the woods because she's a heathen, and Jamie insists that she'll be buried properly, and it's kinda tense, but ultimately Jamie and Claire decide to look after her and clean up the body. But once they've got her inside the house, Claire's in her trauma madness won't give her a second's peace, even when people keep popping in like to give condolences or hint that they reckon Jamie or Claire did it. And Claire's really struggling, like really isolated from her fam and seeing the ghostly trauma goblin all the time, until she finally confesses to Jamie all about it and the ether and her guilt about basically everything that's happened in the show since the first episode. But he tells her that he loves her and that's all fine, somehow. That's until the funeral, where it all goes a bit bad because not enough folk turn up and Jamie and Claire have to try and help, and that ends up upsetting the Christies even worse. And meanwhile, there's a half-hearted attempt to investigate the murder and see if they can find out some stuff, but it doesn't come up to much because all it actually manages to uncover is that the Senator's dead and that Lizzie's been getting busy with both of the Weasley twins and has managed to get up the duff from one of them, dirty wee-bism. And then, when that all comes out, Jamie isn't happy about it and demands a shotgun wedding, or a stable hand fasting, and then sends away the other twin. But this doesn't work out for him because turns out they're not stupid and they go to Roger, who's just decided he wants to become a minister full-time for reasons, and hand fasts her to the other one because they think that's a good idea, and she loves them both. And this is awkward for religious reasons.
That would be an ecumenical matter!
Yes, I suppose it would.
And Jamie's literally planning his warpath rant and putting the whole trio of them right when, out of nowhere, Richard Brown pops up with a whole bunch of dudes and says,
Mr. Fraser, we've come for your wife, for the murder of Malva Christie.
End of episode. So what did I think? Well, I really like this rattling lid thing. No, I mean seriously, not joking, I really like this rattling lid thing. And I also really like the chat between Roger and Jamie about, killing and how to live with yourself, what it says in the Bible, and whether he's a murderer and the difference between a murderer or a killer. It was just a nice scene, and overall I felt good work from the actors, and in fact good work from the actors in most of the scenes here. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of nice stuff, there's good cinematography, good music, but this was also very much a penultimate episode of Outlander. We've had 6 seasons of it, and we kind of know what we expect by now, and that's a lot of filler. And the plain fact is, this week was actually kind of dull, and here's why. I mean, apart from the fact that I'm now quadruply convinced of what I theorised last week, which is that Alan was the murderer and probably the baby daddy of Malva's baby. Ugh. Because all the way through that intro at the beginning, which was a good intro, but all the way through that, in almost every single shot, his head was poking in the side, or he was there and shot looking shifty, and the camera kind of lingered on him more, and the monologue was all about how some guy had lied to her and mistreated her, and somebody that she thought she was meant to love, and had actually been bad to her, and done her wrong. And you're supposed to think it was Jamie, but the fact that, Alan is in every shot looking dodgy as hell, kind of makes it obvious that it was him. And then when they're actually standing with the dead body, he's really worried that Claire saw something, and he won't let the point up at all. But not in a, oh, but how could you not know who did the murder thing? It's a, surely you must have seen something? You must have seen something. You didn't see me do a murder? But yeah, anyway, it's about as subtle as a brick to the face, and it just felt lazy, and it felt like a bit of a shame. I was getting all interested about the idea of maybe some kind of mystery this week, but no. Also, remember how Jamie's the king of men in this show? Great speeches, brave deeds, speaks a dozen languages, fought in a million wars, and blah blah blah, all this stuff. This week he can't think of anything to say to anybody after this happens. All he does is get cross and stare at people, or he has a terse comment and then tells them to go away. He does nothing to try and diffuse any of this, which is weird because he's always been shown to be a character who's quite verbose when he needs it, who says the right thing at the right time, who knows what to say. But in this situation it's just massively out of character because he doesn't seem to know anything or know what to say in any moment or situation. And the show felt like it was just filling time. It felt like it needed people to be doing something to react to the situation, but didn't really have anything for them to do. Hence, this subplot, which is by far the silliest we've had in a long time. I mean, some of the subplots in this weren't bad, like the Roger and Bree stuff, where they're talking about that. I mean, that was character stuff. But yeah, the Lizzie and the twins subplot, I mean, first off, I'm starting to think that Lizzie is in fact a complete half-wit, and or she might actually have some kind of learning difficulties, which makes all this even more sort of dodgy. She's somebody from this time, and has been raised during this time, and has been looked after by Jamie and Claire for literally years at this point. But yeah, apparently nobody's ever told her that it was wrong to get knocked up out of wedlock by two different guys at the same time. That seems a bit odd for somebody in this time period. And yeah, she could be a little bit sheltered, but with everything going on at the moment, you think she'd know this was bad. Considering everything that happened to Malva in the last little while, you think she'd really know this was bad. But no, apparently she's just like, no, this is fine. It's all really fine. And also this line.
You don't understand. They're one soul in two bodies.
That's not how twins work. Like, I'm not a twin, but I'm pretty sure that's not how twins work. But you know, I did laugh when she said paps.
Dark curlies all around his paps, wee and brown and wrinkled like raisins.
It's pretty specific dialect for nipples that you don't hear on TV much. But yeah, anyway, it made me laugh. Also, there was Claire being the centre of the universe, which is nothing unusual for this show. I mean, she's the main character, but now she's literally copped to the fact that she has been putting herself in the centre of the universe and caused a lot of pain for a lot of other characters. And she also then admits that she's completely fine with it and would do it all again.
I'd do it all again. And more. To be with you.
She would do all the bad things that have happened to all the characters in this show again, just because she loves Jamie. Now, I get it, this is a romance novel series, and you can call it whatever you want, and Diana Gabaldon can make all the comments she wants in the world about how this isn't just a romance bodice ripper, it's actually a magical time travel thing, and it's not like anything else. No, it's not. It's a romance series of novels set in the past that has a time travel element. You know, cool. But even with that, this is saccharine nonsense. This is complete saccharine nonsense, and if this is verbatim from the book, then I'm really glad I stopped reading the books at the end of book 1.
Also, considering how much Lizzie talks about having hammered on this door, why was she hammering on the door? There's like 25 doors in this house, and Lizzie, later on it said she actually opens the door. I mean, she clearly has access to the house, so why was she hammering on that door specifically? It doesn't make a lot of sense, because there's clearly lots of doors into that room.
Also, on a technical point, Claire's dream is exactly the same dream that she had earlier in the season. Boring, why reuse that, why not do something different? And again, the editing was messy and all over the place, the pacing was rushed and uneven, and as I said, it's a penultimate episode, and as usual for one of those, it felt like a lot of filler. So here we are, we've got the finale next week, and it looks like it's going to be a bit more action-based, and it might have some peril, and yep, what with all these bads arriving at the Ridge and this being a cliffhanger, I've got some hope, something interesting for next week. Usually the finales are pretty good in this show, apart from that one in the cave. But anyway, yep, usually they're pretty good. So let's hope that it's a bit of a pick-me-up, because till now this season really hasn't been doing it for me very much. And this week definitely managed to really fit that mould. So yep, till next time, these have very definitely been some grumpy opinions.